Oh, well, it's Dinosa with kind of a unique monologue, kind of give you an idea of a project that I'm working on. Sorry about that. Something that has been in the back of my head for a long time, and something that I've been working on, and the vision, and I think I'm starting to see the vision take shape. And I just kind of wanted to go over a little bit about the idea and the concept. Simply, the concept was it was a a film. It was a film, not really about a good film. It was not, how to put this right. It's not exactly a good film, but it's more of a film that it gives a different perspective of a story, the different side to things. It's not neither good or bad. It's indifferent. It's bitter and indifferent, but they're deep down at the core at it. It's actually a good morality tale when one is faced with choices that greatly affect, and even someone that makes the right choices, they still get somewhat punished and restricted. Um, and the story really, or the movie that I'm thinking in my head is simply called "Going Back Home." Um, it's just it's a story really about a Marine who comes home from these two wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, and previous ones, and he's about my age. His name is Captain. He's a captain, and I'm not going to reveal his name exactly. I'm just going to refer to him right now as Captain B on that. But it's a good. Feel it's a good name. But I think that what I think is most fascinating about this whole thing, the whole concept, is the storyline that I've always had the background and the thing that I could see it. I could see the film, and from especially where I'm at, it's something that really could take off. Because I'm in the area of California, which I've got the most backgrounds, I've got the most photogenic things, and California is very interesting, where we have backgrounds that could pass for Iowa, Montana, Iraq, Afghanistan. It can even pass for Star Wars, Tatooine, and at the same time you have San Francisco, Los Angeles, others coastal cities. Some of the coastal cities up north, up in Seacliff, could pass for like some coastal cities in Rhode Island. I mean, of course, there's a difference between the two, but it gives you an idea. Like, for example, if you go up to Stinson Beach and you pass by like the trees before you actually get to Stinson Beach, if you go the back route, it really looks like the East Coast. The trees everywhere, very interesting. But it's kind of a monologue. And I'll try to kind of start the monologue as best I can. It's, I don't know. I'm kind of. The problem is I don't have a solid script on that. I have backgrounds. I have ideas on that. That's what I'm faced with. What I do know is it's going to be a retro, not a retro, but actually yes, retrospective of the whole thing. It's going to be something going backwards on that, where you get to an event, and the event actually starts in Alameda, California. And the guy is a Marine, and the thing is, he was discharged from the Marines. He was not honorably discharged, nor dishonorably. He was just discharged, and it was under circumstances that were not fair. But he had to make a choice between the livelihood of his men and the people that were under his command versus what his commander had, and what ended up saving him from the gallows, not really the gallows, but from prison, was the fact that his commander was almost killed, but while his man ran, he dragged his commander on his shoulders through hundreds of miles of wild terrain and walked him back to the base on that alive. And that's what saved him. But like so many politicians out there and here, he came clean about what exactly happened. It was a difference of opinion. It was the commander was a by-ranking commander, but he was he was how to put this? He was inexperienced in the kind of warfare here is, and this sometimes happens. But basically, what it was a major in the Marines that ordered his troops to do something, and the more orders he did, the more of, and the captain B did not agree what specifically he did. I mean, one of the discussions is when it gets to the point where the captain's almost being insubordinate. And Marines, for a Marine to get insubordinate, you have to get to such a level where there's so many people dying that this major is completely incompetent to his duties, and it kind of paints in with today's society and what's going on, specifically with the Occupy protest, but also with the captain being that. And simply put, is that the major kept making these orders during the campaigns, specifically in Afghanistan, and every time in the platoon, more people got killed because the decisions were not the right in the captain's experience. Because the captain B has been in Iraq, one at the end of Iraq 1, and he's been in Iraq 2, and he's been in Afghanistan. He's also been in many other countries, and he has experience dealing with situations like this and the type of guerrilla warfare. And the major did not. He was more educated than the captain. The captain had field experience. The major had education, but not field experience. And the major kept making decisions, but his decisions were not based in a guerrilla environment. It was more of a tactical environment, but what he was failing to understand is the type of environment he was in. Now, granted, the major thought he was doing everything right, but the problem is when you were dealing with a circumstance such as this, the captain knew what was right because he's been dealing with it, and the reason why the captain knew about that is specifically enough of his friends, or I should say companions with his troops, have died due to bad decisions. And he's been down roads, and he's overly cautious, sometimes to the point where it's almost crazy, but he knew the line on what to cross and what to do on that. So simply, I'm trying to drink a lot here to get me in the right mindset of this, because this is such a feat for me to try to do this and try to explain everything, because it's just so in depth and it's so important on here, because I think something like this film could really paint American society and what they're going through, and what these soldiers are coming back and looking to, because simply put here, basically the commanding officer, the major and the captain, could not agree on a decision, on a course of action, and basically the major became incapacitated to effectively lead. The captain took over command of the unit against the major's orders, because the major was shot. He was still talkative, but he was not in a position to effectively lead. The captain took over command. He got his men out there, and then during the escape, the captain and him got cut off. And this is some background so you understand the monologue. The captain and him got cut off, or the captain and the major got cut off from the escape, so he had to take the major for about 100 miles to the base by foot, and it was actually about 30 miles by foot. Then they found a car and drove him in the car, and they covered themselves in not turbans, but just Afghan gear so they'd blend in on that. But of the interesting thing is the major, or I should say the Captain B, he turned himself in. He went to his commanders and told them everything that happened, told them what it is. Now, the major, with his ego, wanted to press charges over here, and the generals at the time were not going to press, but they had to make an example out of someone to enforce discipline. So what happened is that Captain B was discharged. Not dishonorably discharged, not honorably discharged, just discharged. Man's 12 or 14-year career over. Just like that. He only had 8 more years, or actually 6 more years, so he could effectively retire, and then do something else and just collect a pension from the U.S. Army, or I'm sorry, the U.S. Marines. 20 years. I think it's 20 years. I think that's the rule. 20 or 30 years. I don't know. It's a short period of time. I believe it's 20 years you could retire with full pay. That's actually a big incentive. Think about this with enlisted soldiers. That's a very big incentive, because if you're in there for 4 years and then you actually say for 20, you can get full pay. But the only thing is the pay is not that great, but the benefits they give these soldiers here. But what the film is designed for is to show what some of these soldiers are feeling on that, but also to kind of give an idea of how different society has changed from the World War II, even World War I in a sense, but World War II, where that war was a war. That war was a fight for survival and freedom, and that was a genuine war on that, because that, if they didn't fight that, it would have just snowballed. The Afghan thing, I really wish, I'm glad they're finally bringing our soldiers home in this, but at the same time, I worry about it as well, because we're not there. But we'll see how that plays out. But it's time those people that are over there come home. They've been there enough. They're tired of it. But this is the kind of man, Captain B was the kind of man that all his life wanted to be a hero and wanted to do the right thing. He fell into the schools and, like, do the right thing and do everything, follow the rules, and, you be this and you get the glory and all that. But at the end, when he did the right thing by defending his men, and then he comes back to America and see what America became, and see how many people that truly